it's nice to have an ability to share blessings with babies. There's so much chaos around us. Being able to share a blessing of peace with a baby and a young family, there's something special, so amazing about that. And even on the Jewish calendar for tonight, it's a complicated time again. We've already started this month of Av, and on Sunday, it is a holy day on the Jewish calendar called Tisha B'Av, the 9th day of the Hebrew month of Av. And the 9th day of Av, it's marked by calamity in our history. You know, there's a teacher who says there's no such thing as Jewish history. There's only Jewish memory. And so in Jewish memory, the 9th of Av is a day, again, marked by hardship and sadness and calamity. Tisha B'Av is a day where, according to Jewish tradition, the 2 holy temples that once stood in Jerusalem were destroyed. Our people were devastated. Many were murdered. And after that first destruction, there was a time of return and a destruction. The first by Babylonians, the second by the Romans. And Jewish tradition has these days marked by speaking lamentations. In fact, the scroll that we read on Tisha B'Av, it's called Eicha. Eicha, it doesn't mean lamentations, but in English, our Bibles will have this book called Lamentations, and these laments can just break somebody's heart. You can feel their sense of doom and dread and despair. It is a terrible day of mourning. In fact, our mourning traditions fill up this day. People abstain from times of joy. There isn't putting on perfumes and colognes, or for them it was anointing with oil. There would be wearing garments that also were reminiscent of mourning. All of these things, and even fasting, all of these things would help us focus on what this terrible time was. And the first section of the book of Deuteronomy. And there could be lots of reasons why. It talks about going into the land, how we have to be ethical in how we go into the land, but there's still so much more. Do you remember a second ago I said that the scroll that's read is called in English Lamentations, but in Hebrew it's called by its first word, Eicha. Eicha comes from Eich. If you know Hebrew, Eich means how. Eicha, when it comes to the Torah and the Bible, it's not how. It's like, how? It is a call and a cry. It is a screaming at God of how. And it's something because that we can yell at God. I think that's okay. And I still do it from time to time. And I think God can handle it. But it made the most sense when I was really hurting. And I've shared often how my father died when I'm 15 years old, and that really made things, I was so lost from all of that. How does that happen? How does that happen? And so the first word of the book is Eicha. In the book of Deuteronomy, how can I bear unaided the trouble, your cause, the burden, and the bickering? So even in the Torah portion, this word that shows up hardly at all in the entire Bible shows up this Torah portion, this Shabbat. How can I bear unaided the trouble you cause? That how is. And its verse from the story is that Moses is telling all of the people about how hard it is to lead the Israelites through the wilderness. And it's a conversation between Moses and God when Moses was feeling is out that Echa, how can I bear unaided, unassisted? He's feeling lonely. But the question isn't really meant to be answered. A lot of times when you say this Echa, this how, it's just to get it out of your system. It's not really to expect a rational answer. It was to say, here's a rabbi's answer, a cantor's answer on what theology means at a time when we're feeling and we're crying out how, you'd walk away, and you should. That's not when we manage those answers. There's not really going to be an answer, but the in this very first word, Echa, how. One of my colleagues shared with me that the entire Bible has only 18 times. Just 18 times with the word Echa. And the notice and write about and preach about something else. The same letters in the word Echa, if you change the vowels, becomes a new Hebrew word. Instead of Echa, how, it's Ayeka. Where are word from the Torah? Not because it doesn't come up so often, but I like this idea of where are you? After Adam and Eve take that fruit, the one that they're not supposed to eat, and take it from the tree of knowledge of good and bad, the one that they're not to take from, now they have understanding of the world, and they are aware of it. And Adam hides from God. Dude, it's God. And he's trying to hide behind a rock or some kind of silly Adam, don't you think? But he tries to hide. And God asks, Ayeka, where are you? God's not asking for Adam's location. God's asking, where are you spiritually, emotionally, ethically? Who are you as a human being? Ayeka, where are you? Same letters, different vocalization. And our sages look at this Echa as a rhetorical question. And the only way we can answer a rhetorical question Jewishly is with a new question. Ayeka, where are you? Folks, there isn't a person here who hasn't experienced heartache, heartbreak, life quakes. We have experienced traumas, illness, pandemic. There is so much that we carry. Other fire, shooting. We are witnesses to these life all around. See, financial hardship, loss of loved ones, estrangements and ending of relationships. We know what hurt is like, and no one is immune. I wish we were. I wish I was. I wish you were too. But if you're going to cry out, and if you're going to shout out, and get all of that out, Echa, how could this be? Well, then we need to check in again and say, Ayeka. I think that's God's response to us, not trite answers. Dr. Vivek Murthy, who I've shared different quotes over the years, is the Surgeon General of the United States. He writes that the acts of kindness and generosity are the most powerful exercises for reducing loneliness and improving. Generosity is on how we can restore some balance. Generosity, kindness, being present for other people. Ayeka, where are you? Can we play a role not just in healing others, but in healing ourselves, not by bouncing back, but by bouncing forward? I like this quip. Read some. Hope that our hardships don't actually harden us. Haven't you seen enough people who have been hardened by their hardships? It's sort of like becoming like Pharaoh, where the heart becomes harder and harder and more of stone, and nothing gets let in anymore. You can't penetrate. I don't want our hardships to harden us. I believe that our hardships can open our eyes to the hurt and hardships of others, where we get to recognize somebody else's humanity. And that's how we perhaps can rebuild some connections and share some hopes and dreams. So, I think it's okay to cry out Echa every once in a while. Maybe for some of us, more than once in a while. And I think it's okay that God's answer is Ayeka. Where are you? Where are we in this world? And what are we doing to help lift up that compassion and empathy that we're all yearning